The show's about to start and the sun is still up. It must be April on Mackinac. I hope your bike has snow tires because this is Make and Break.
Bob Wood, National Program Director of the Chum Group, worked with us in producing...
Hold up, before we get started...
Guess who's coming? Guess who's coming? Guess who's coming?
Dan Calvin.
Back again! Who is he? Just your favorite DJ Savior. Using and confusing beats that you never heard. 1990. Put a smile on your face like Ultra Bright.
You're just fessing, man. I don't even want to hear about it.
You're listening to Make and Break Radio on RadioMackinac.org. Welcome to Make and Break Radio on RadioMackinac.org. I'm your host, Daniel Calvin. Tonight's episode is number 108. That's not relevant to anything in particular other than its nice round number that happens to be divisible by 54. This week has been a good week on Mackinac. There was some sun, there was some snow. The bikes were out and the sleds were put in. Then the bikes were put in and the sleds were taken out. Then the bikes were brought out, and, well, you get the picture. Tonight's playlist is action-packed and seemingly schizophrenic, but I think you'll enjoy it. So without further ado... They say if you see something, you should say something. Well, I say, if you hear something, then say something. Tell a friend about the show and leave a comment on MakeBreakShow.com.
Welcome back to the Real Straight Stock with Daniel Sir Six-a-Lot Kelvin.
The views expressed on the Straight Stock may not be the views of the Make and Break staff or the RadioMackinac.org management.
I'm going to give it to you straight.
I baked a ham the other day for the purpose of eating some ham. What's great about eating a ham is that once you've devoured 8 pounds of cured hog's leg, you are left with a fabulously salty, smoky bone. Perfect for making soup. I like making soup, so you can just imagine my excitement with enjoying ham and being able to make some soup with the leftovers. I was over the moon. On Wednesday, I biked over to Dowd's and picked up a bag of split peas and an onion. I was furious that all of the peas were broken in half and demanded that if the peas were in halves, then so should be the price. I was asked to leave. So I bribed a teenager to go into the store and buy me some peas. As I waited and watched the clerk and the high school kid look at me and point at me through the window laughing, I observed that it was strange that I was in this situation, like the world had been turned on its ear. I wasn't being asked by a high schooler to buy smokes for him. I was asking a high schooler to buy me dried legumes. Mackinac is weird. You know what else makes good soup? A smoked chicken carcass. You have to cut the rich, salty flavor with some basic run-of-the-mill chicken carcass. But some navy beans and ham, and you've made something that you can be proud of. You know what else you should be proud of? Organizing your closet. You did a real nice job there. I don't like cleaning other people's garages. How am I supposed to know what is junk or what is good stuff? The last time I cleaned someone else's garage, I listened to an interview of a guy who used to hang out with Anton LaVey. That would be an interesting dinner party. You know what I dislike about dinner parties? Everything but the dinner. How are you supposed to enjoy your meal that the host is so carefully crafted at the same time as making small talk? It seems like someone asks me about myself just as I shovel some food into my gaping maw. I wonder if Anton LaVey asks questions just as you pull the fork from your mouth. I like forks. They do a pretty darn good job. 3 tine, 4 tine, suit me just fine. But 2 tines? That's not a fork. That's 1 tine away from being just a stabby thing, and I don't put stabby things anywhere near my face. A single tine fork is nothing but a partial set of chopsticks. I read this week that a Chinese official is asking citizens to reuse their wooden chopsticks or use metal or plastic ones since so many trees are cut annually to make chopsticks for 1 billion people. There's a man in Georgia making a mint, cutting chopsticks from southern trees to be sent to China. That guy's pretty rad. I remember when Al Gore promised to get the smoke out of the Great Smoky Mountains. I was at a Smoky Mountain bar once. The mountains were asked to go outside. I tried to use my immersion blender today. I was making soup. I found a toothbrush in it. I had wondered where that toothbrush was. Ski boots aren't skis at all. They should be called boots for skis. I wrote the book on love. I wrote on the book of love. It keeps my pen from tearing through the paper. Don't make Kool-Aid in the dark or half in the bag. You might end up with super sugary taco-flavored drink or salad dressing. I'm always ashamed that I can't find a use for old pickle juice every time I pour it down the drain. I'm terrified that my potatoes are watching me. Remember that guy who showed up for his first day of work at the Pony Express on an actual pony? I've invented a washing machine dryer combo. I call it Laundryer. It also makes toast and is a DVR. I wore a Christmas sweater to Easter dinner. It started a terrible chicken before or after egg debate. Thank you for listening to Make and Break Radio. If you have any suggestions, comments, or just idle ramblings, email me at podcast@makebreakshow.com. That's podcast@makebreakshow.com. This episode of Make and Break Radio is brought to you by Randy's Bicycle Recovery Service. Has your bike been stolen? Have you lost your bike? Did you leave it someplace and are just too damn lazy to go get it? Did you ride a cab home and need your steed to get back to work on time in the morning? Call Randy's Bicycle Recovery. For less than $13, Randy's can get you your bike. Make the call, get your bike, and just ignore the sweatpants tent. Let me talk a bit about shame. I don't mean the, I don't know what I did last night shame, or the, you have brought our family shame kind of shame. I don't mean the, have you no shame? Put on some pants shame. I want to talk about good old guilt-induced, empathy-driven shame. Shame that some don't know. Shame that some even pretend not to know. Some might claim that they don't give a damn, but most of them are liars. Some would claim that a lack of shame is an indicator of an individual being a psychopath. I've been accused of being a sociopath as well as a psychopath. Those that have accused, they are fools. I am a hot mess of shame, regret, empathy, and doubt. I do not fill the necessary criteria to be a sociopath or a psychopath. With one very simple anecdote, I can prove this to you. This morning I was on my way to work, coasting down Cadott Avenue. My mind was everywhere, so many things going on. I was in my own little world, smoking a Camel. As the road began to level off, so did my smoke. I pitched it down to the pavement. I must add that I smoke Camels, not filtered Camels. Regular Camels, the butts vaporized to dust with a flick of a heel or just one horse trotting, so long-term litter is a non-issue. That said, I couldn't have chosen a worse moment to litter in the technical sense. As I shot down the hill, my mind focused on what is in and on my mind, not paying true attention to my surroundings, the sights and the sounds, or the human beings. I flicked my butt to the asphalt at the very moment I passed a proud man with a wheelbarrow and a broom. His remark was quiet, but it was perfect. Perfectly passive-aggressive considering the uniform he was wearing. "Thank you, sir," he said. As the words sank in, I realized the importance. As the distance between us increased, the reality of an immediate apology became impossible. Truly shamed, I entered my workday, full of regret for not stopping to acknowledge my unintentional slight. That was a more terrible way to start a workday than sliding sideways in a pile of horse shit and soaking your pants in a puddle of horse piss. The irony of the situation was that this man's job is to prevent that horror from ever happening. I felt like an ass because I was an ass. I never meant to be one, but it is a reality. This has been Straight Talk Straight, and I'm Daniel Calvin. This episode of Make and Break Radio is brought to you by snow shovels. Like that weird rash on your elbow, snow shovels never seem to go away, and that's because we take care of your business. Slush, powder, scoop, or push. When you need a heart attack or some kind of hernia or pinched nerve, just pick up a snow shovel. 2 weeks ago, the island had an early spring dump of snow that has blanketed areas pretty good with a pretty good layer of easily moldable, wet, packable snow. And now I'm in trouble. Quite a few folks were quite upset with my exploits from earlier that afternoon. The neighborhood is upset with me. The authorities are upset with me. I'm sure this will all run downhill all the way to the upper management of my day job, and I'll be catching holy hell from all directions. You see, I was inspired 2 weeks ago by that spring snow and a lack of eager women, enough to build a creation out of the white manna from the sky that represented my current mindset. This artistic endeavor, as it turns out, has offended the sensibilities of those with whom I share this island. My intent certainly was not to offend. I didn't even mean for it to be thought-provoking. It was just a result of some thoughts that I've been having, and having some time on my hands. I guess I should express my apologies for this lack of discretion, but I won't, because at this point I don't really care what others thought of my snow creation. But I do regret that the efforts of Mackinac Island State Park, the Mackinac Highway Patrol, and even the Mackinac Bridge Authority all were involved with the dismantling of my snow base pastime. For this, I am truly regretful. All of these folks have other things to do, and cleaning up what could be best described as a prank is a waste of their collective time. How was I supposed to know that it was distracting the drivers crossing the bridge? How could I have known that it broke FAA regulations 1046.79b, subchapter 6, and 746.86 through 832.42? For my lack of regard to Federal Aviation Administration regulations, I am sorry. This experience has taught me to never ever again build a 40-foot tall snow woman with breasts the size of a VW Beetle at the end of the runway on Mackinac Island. Thank you for listening to Make and Break Radio, episode 108 on RadioMackinac.org. I had a lot of fun. That was some pretty good music, if I do say so myself. Join me again next week for another great show, if I do say so myself. And since I think I'm the only one that's actually hearing myself say this right now, I will say so myself. Good night, everybody.